What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Early Edge NFL Pick Show, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Will Brinson, Mike McClure and R.J. White here to go through yet another excellent slate of games. A big rookie matchup, a huge ramification. I get it. Filled Thursday night football game as well. Get it, R.J.?
It was amazing. Great job.
All right, let's dive right in. We'll start with Thursday night football. Vikings at the Rams. The Vikings, no surprise here, a much better team on the season, are favored by 3 at the Rams. Total here of 48.5. Mike, you like a side in this spot, right?
Yeah, I like the chalk with the Vikings, the road chalk here on a short week. You know, what could go wrong? Road chalk, short week, right. NFL. Yeah, look, I honestly, the number for me was 4.2. I made it 4. I played it 2.5 minus 122. Would still play it at 3 and even money, which is actually a better play by about 1 cent. However, in this matchup with the road matchup, I do like the 2.5. But for me, it's literally just coming down to, while Cooper Kupp is going to be back, Puka Nacua potentially back as well, I think the issues are still the offensive line and the defense for the Los Angeles Rams. This offensive line rates 31st in the league in pass blocking, and that's a problem to me if they're not playing from in front. When you look at what Minnesota does defensively, they blitz a ton. They're able to generate pressure. If you get this Rams team in a situation where it's just obvious pass after obvious pass, it's going to look like a good defense teeing off on a rookie quarterback that you see all the time in the NFL. That's what it's going to look like behind this offensive line if the Rams are unable to play from in front. So for me, I will pay to find out here. We'll see how effective both Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are. I think this is a fire sale waiting to happen if the Rams don't win this game. So I really, it's the road chalk here, and it's never comfortable on a short week like this, but I'm laying the number here with the Vikings.
Yeah, I have a friend in Vegas this weekend. He's texting me, what do I take tonight? Because he's not a huge sports fan. And I said, if you can get the 2.5, take the Vikings. If not, just play the money line on the Vikings, because 3 is a very possible scenario here with all these Rams players coming back. Getting Kupp back matters. Getting Nacua back matters. But, Kupp is probably less than 100% considering he was held out a few days ago. And Nacua definitely will be at less than 100%. I think you can mitigate the impact of those guys by getting consistent pressure like Mike is talking about, but you do want to have them playing from behind. So, anytime you kind of dream up that scenario, then the team that you're dreaming it up against gets out to a 7-0 lead, and you're like, okay, what happens now? But their big offensive days that the Rams have had, or the big offensive days that Minnesota's given up, were by teams with elite offensive line, Detroit and Green Bay. And the Rams do not have those guys that they have on those lines. So the Rams D's also had trouble with good offenses, and Minnesota certainly qualifies to me. I don't know how they cover those Minnesota receivers defensively. So at 2.5, love the Vikings. At 3, I'm still lean Vikings. I played it on the site, but definitely look to get the 2.5.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I like Justin Jefferson anytime touchdown here. It's a reasonable price. You can find it like minus 115, minus 120. That's laying a little bit of juice for somebody to find the end zone. But this is a primetime game. Jefferson's been awesome all season long. Best receiver in football, gets to go up against a bad defense. And, we could have a situation here where the Rams are able to keep pace a little bit. You see that high total of 48.5. Like, the Vikings are probably going to have to throw a decent amount in this game, no matter what. So I like Jefferson's chances to find the end zone at a reasonable price. My head says the Vikings, and my heart, my barely beating Rams heart says to take the home dog, but I don't know that I would advise anybody to hammer the Rams here. They are still banged up and have been all season long. Could be a lot of stuff going on in the future there. Eagles at the Bengals. Cincinnati heating up. Philly looked real sharp in that bloodbath against the Giants. Bengals minus 2.5 in this one, RJ, with a total of 48 in a 1 p.m. CBS game. What side do you like here?
Did the Eagles look sharp? I mean, they ran the ball all over them, but the passing game didn't look great. They hit that one big play to A.J. Brown in fourth down.
They didn't have to pass, though. Like, the Giants did nothing. So,
But the Giants, we'll get to the Giants, but that offensive line is not good. And any team with a pass rush can handle the Giants, I think. The Bengals' offensive line is actually a lot better, I think. And it's going to be a different case here. That's why I like the Bengals. I like the -2. It's up to 2.5 now. Still like it anything under 3. Both offenses haven't been impressive really to the last 2 weeks to what we were just talking about versus the same opponents, Cleveland and the Giants. I trust Cincinnati more on both sides of the ball right now. Philly likely missing multiple players on offensive line. We know the left tackle's out. Mekhi Becton suffered a concussion last week. I think it's going to be tough for them, just the way they've been playing these games, to score more than 20, 24 points, somewhere around that range. And I think Cincy has the potential for a lot more, as Philly's defensive success has come against teams hurting on the offensive line, like the Giants, like Cleveland, like New Orleans. Tampa Bay scored 33 on them in between, and they have a pretty good offensive line. So if Cincinnati is able to hold up and protect Burrow, and Cincinnati's offense has only 2 interceptions all year, as does Philly's defense, so they're not turning the ball over, I think it's more likely that mistakes come on the Philly side of things to swing what could be a close game. So I like taking the home team at -2.5. I don't think these teams are even. I think the Bengals are a little bit better.
And Mike, you're on the Bengals as well, right?
Yeah, I played it -1.5 and money line. I'll give the money line here, depending on where you're shopping. You know, a lot of what RJ said. I think both of these teams, at times, they're just high variance teams, right? They offensively, when they're playing well, they're 2 of the best teams in the NFL still. Like, both of these teams, it wouldn't shock anyone, I don't think, if they made playoff runs this year. But when I look at the Cincinnati side, I think that they're better offensively here. And I really think that they'll bend but not break against Philly. I think that they'll allow some yards between the 20s, but I don't think Philly's some juggernaut offensively right now in the red zone. And if you're not scoring touchdowns, I think that's going to be a problem, because I think the Bengals will score touchdowns here. Joe Burrow continues to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. They're going to throw the ball a ton, and that's really been Philly's weakness. Philly's secondary is likely to get picked apart here. They've also struggled tremendously with tackling, not a recipe for success when you try to bring down Jamar Chase in space. I just think that this is a spot where the home team has a little bit of an edge. So I played the Bengals here on the money line.
I put the Eagles in a teaser. So I mean, we can all get it. We have our cake and eat it too here. You get the Eagles, and really it's up to 8.5 now. But if it gets to 3, I obviously love getting the Eagles up to 9. I just think that this is I'll be curious to see if the Bengals defense has really turned some massive corner where, and I understand getting the guys in the middle back in shoes, but I think Philly will be able to move it with their offensive line. And, Saquon Barkley, possibly a letdown spot, but he didn't really have to play the entire second half. They should be able to attack with those receivers down the field. So I like the Eagles to keep it close enough to stay within 8.5 or 9 points, depending on what you can get and what should be a shootout. Am I insane for thinking that, RJ, that it doesn't feel like the Eagles will just get blown out?
I don't know. I mean, they've had these games where they statistically dominate a team and win by 2, and it's just, you can see Sirianni kind of falling all over himself, making some mistakes, going for it when he shouldn't be going for it. Turns 3 points into 0 points because he doesn't get it. And then all of a sudden, since he just has a big blow-up game, because, that Eagles secondary, do you really trust them to slow down Joe Burrow and this attack that lit up the Ravens a few weeks ago? I mean, the potential is there for a 35, 38-point Bengals game. And then even if the Eagles are doing relatively well offensively, if they only get to 24, 27, that's a loss. So.
All right, fair enough. Way to make me feel good. Ravens, that's not your job. Ravens at the Browns, the aforementioned explosive Ravens offense. I mean, just Derrick Henry is just he's King Henry, man. He's unstoppable. Lamar looks fantastic. They got receiver. They have like really nice weapons for days, not like the elite top tier options, but some good ones. And more importantly, we get Jameis Winston coming back starting for this game with Deshaun Watson out, Dorian Thompson-Robinson dealing with an injury as well. I'm going to play the over in this game at 44.5. This to me is kind of a no-brainer. Jameis Winston's involved. Jameis Winston, I think it was like Ian Hartitz put up the meme where it's like, like the devil on Jameis's shoulders, like there's somebody open down there. I mean, Jameis ain't afraid to chuck the ball into coverage. And you can have a thing with Jameis where the upside, downside to his play is such that it can produce points on both ends. Like if he's playing really well and heaving the ball downfield to David Njoku and Jerry Jeudy, like you're going to get the points. And the Ravens are going to have to answer suit. If he's playing really poorly, it might set the Ravens up for a really good field position. They score their points, and then you have, Derrick Henry busting off long runs and Jameis chunking it all around in the second half. So I like the over in this spot. Mike, any leans for you?
I really don't have much of a lean here in this one. I'm totally off of this game. If I had to play anything, I would probably lay the points with the Ravens still. Just feels like a game that they could win, very, very handily. As far as this game individually, though, you're right in that Jameis is the ultimate high variance weapon in this particular spot. It wouldn't shock anyone, I don't think, if he was able to go out there, throw for 250, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. It wouldn't shock me if he threw 3 interceptions, 1 or 2 of them that led to 6 points the other way immediately on that play. So I'm personally just avoiding this game completely. I do think the Ravens win the game. I think the line is kind of right. I had about 1.5 higher on the Ravens side, but at a number of 8.5, I'm just not overly excited to buy in there. Any
side or total for you, RJ?
Yeah, I'm in this weird spot where I think the line should be higher, but I don't want to take the Ravens because you don't know what you're getting from Jameis. And now that it's down to 8.5, it's really blinking teaser leg. The problem is I just don't have anything else on the card I want to play a teaser with. All the numbers where you would think about playing it, I don't like those sides. So I'm going to stay away from this game. I was a little bit leaning toward Cleveland at 9. It's a quick turnaround for Baltimore after playing on Monday Night Football. They're dealing with several key injuries. Flowers got hurt in that game. A couple cornerbacks hurt, Humphrey and Wiggins. We don't know how they'll be. And the pass defense has been pretty bad, pretty mediocre for Baltimore. They gave up 481 yards to Tampa's offense, which is missing Mike Evans for 3 quarters. And I think opponents will be able to attack via the pass. And now you probably have an upgraded quarterback for Cleveland. I mean, it's impossible to know for sure, but Deshaun Watson was playing like the worst quarterback in the league.
I mean, it has to be.
It's either flat or it's an upgrade. It can't be worse. And the Cleveland defense showed up the last 2 weeks against good Philly and Cincy offenses. So if they're energized by the switch to Jameis, I think they can keep the Baltimore point total low enough to cover and not hit the over that you're talking about. It just depends on what Cleveland defense you get for this game if they show up for this game. So I'm just going to be a stay away. Might be one to live bet once you kind of get a feel for who has shown up for this game.
You mentioned no teaser partners. You're not excited about Aaron Rodgers and the Jets on the road in division. Get that number down to -1.
I would not be surprised if they lost that game.
There's this weird, we'll get to that game in a second. There's some weird Gerard Mayo stuff going around as well. Titans at the Lions, man. You talk about so we got Jameson Williams, literally as we're sitting here, just dropped his appeal, according to Ian Rappaport of NFL Media, and is going to sit out this week and next week as a result of his suspension. That probably paves the way for some Sam Laporta props if you're interested in it. I would expect his usage maybe to go up, or if you look to Khalif Raymond or Tim Patrick in DFS. I am going to look to the Lions team total over in this game, which you can find at 27.5 -120. Obviously, key number there. You want to get the 4 touchdowns. I don't think the Titans can do anything to slow down the Lions. I don't think the Lions I just don't think the Lions are going to be slowed down right now. Jared Goff has the Lions have more touchdowns, 18, than incompletion, 16 over the last 4 games. Goff is completing 83.5% of his passes over the last 4 games, 9 touchdowns, 1 pick. He has the highest passer rating, I think, or the highest completion percentage over a 3-game span in NFL history in his last 3, and the highest in a 4-game span in NFL history over his last 4th at 83.5. So I think they keep it rolling here. Don't think Tennessee offers much in the way of slowing them down. And of course, Tennessee just traded Hopkins to the Chiefs, so kind of waving the white flag there, and we'll see what they do at quarterback if Levis is back, or if they want to just keep rolling with Mason Rudolph. You have a play on the total here, RJ.
Yeah, I'm going under 45. Not one Titans game has gotten to 45 points this year, while the Tennessee offense hasn't had more than 300 yards in a game, and it's unlikely to get better with DeAndre Hopkins gone. But the defense is top 10 in both net yards per pass attempt and yards per rush, and that's helped keep the scoring in check and keep those games pretty low. Detroit, you think they can score a ton of points. They're coming off a back-and-forth win versus a divisional leader. Huge game for them. They have another huge divisional road game up next. They're at Green Bay next. This just feels like a trappy kind of spot for them. It might just be a hand the ball off and run straight and get out of here with a workman-like type of win. So that's why I didn't want to play the line on the Lions. I didn't want to really play their team total over. But I looked into non-divisional games with double-digit favorites in the first 10 weeks at home, and they're 21-7 to the under since 2015. This is a spot where you typically see a lot of underplays in these big mismatches. And the favorites are 12-4 since 2019 in those. So if you do want to play the Lions, I get it. I'm just not going to be on it because I think Tennessee has a pretty good defense here. Would rather just stick to the under on this one.
Mike, your thoughts, to lean or on any direction? Or
I think we're all tuning in for the Khalif Raymond revenge game against the Tennessee Titans. So yeah, no, for me, I made the number 12.5 and 44.5. So I'm pretty much dead on there. A very easy game for me to just simply avoid, kind of like that Ravens game. There's nothing I want a part of here.
Right, worth noting too, by the way, that like this line is going flying up. I think it was like 9.5 last night. Am I wrong? It's jumped like a full point and a half today.
It was 9.5 on the look ahead. I think the move probably happened a little before that, but it might have been the DeAndre. I might have been at 10 before the DeAndre Hopkins. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The Hopkins move. Yeah. I see 10.5 like on our pick'em site, which locks on Tuesdays usually. All right, let's take a break. And when we come back, Jets and Patriots, the game of the year, the game of the century, maybe. No, I'm just kidding. But it is a pretty big game for both teams. Also, we have Trevor Lawrence versus Jordan Love in a massive AFC South game. We'll tell you all about them next. All right, let's keep it going on the the Early Edge NFL Picks Show. Cardinals at Dolphins. Dolphins, this is a weird one because Tua is back at practice, but we don't know if Tua is playing. Tyreek Hill is telling fantasy managers to get him in their lineups as if he controls that in any shape or fashion. Because, like, dude, where's it been for the last few weeks? Dolphins minus 3.5 here. RJ with a total of 45.5. You have a best bet in this game.
Love the Dolphins in this spot. Loved it at 3. I think it should be 6, which is what it was in the preseason. I don't see why it shouldn't be the same with if Tua's playing, and I expect him to play. I expect he will be cleared today, and then we will just be full systems go for him. And it's a concussion, right? He's 100% healthy. It's not a lingering ankle injury or knee injury or anything like that where the guy has to work his way back. You're either cleared or you're not. So he's back. Not only do the Dolphins get him back, they get their top 2 receivers back because Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle have been non-existent in the offense for 4 weeks. They have as many yards, but each of them as they had about in week 1. It's like a 10-yard.
Yeah.
So a month of playing with these backups is the same as one game with 2, essentially. So that's going to be massive. I mean, they were throwing it to Jonnu Smith. That was their whole offense last week, and there's going to be a huge upgrade for them. So Arizona wasn't impressive in that Monday night win. 2 fortunate fumbles away from getting rolled in the first half. They still needed a 2-minute rally to win that game. I just don't think they're very good. And Miami, I think, is an average team or better with Tua at quarterback. So I think this line should be 6. I loved getting it at 3. Still best bet at 3.5. It's going to be a best bet if it gets to 4 and Tua is announced in, because I think it should be higher than that.
Yeah, Mike, we're expecting Tua to go, but just in case we don't want to push the line up too high, kind of maybe movement or line action here, right?
Yeah, once he's officially ruled in and on game day, this is going to close 4.5, I would suspect. So if you like the Dolphins, you've lost the 3 already. I would continue to buy now. I do think he plays. I love me some Tyreek Hill this week. I really would look at his receptions over more so than yardage. When you see Tua in this spot, if he is shy in one way at all, it's going to be, taking a hit early. So he is going to look to get the ball out quick. And I think it's still going to be a lot of stuff around the line of scrimmage to Tyreek Hill. Just to kind of get him into the rhythm of the game a bit early. So it wouldn't shock me there. If you want to get very specific, I would look at Tyreek Hill first quarter props. The ball's almost definitely getting forced around the line of scrimmage to Tyreek Hill in the first quarter in that first drive. So there are definitely opportunities there. For me, it's more of a DFS play than a betting play, but I will definitely have Tyreek.
Yeah, and we're 32, especially if you go receptions instead of yards and something happened to Tua, you have a much easier path of getting there with the backup quarterback and throwing to the line of scrimmage. We mentioned the Jets and the Patriots. They are squaring off on CBS on Sunday at 1 p.m. The Jets are a massive 7-point favorite at New England. I mean, it's not too early to call this a must-win game for the Jets, right? I mean, you have to win this game. They really need to go 3-1 over their next 4 games if they want to be in the playoff hunt. But I mean, you cannot lose this game on the road to New England without Belichick, without Brady. Just a bad Patriots team. But Drake May's a little frisky. RJ, who knows?
So last week wasn't a must-win game for the Jets.
I mean, yeah, the week. I don't know. I think the last 3 weeks have been must-win games for the Jets, and they haven't won since September.
Yeah, my problem with this is they were -6.5 at home in week 3 on a short week. And so we're now flipping them to -7 when they're not playing well. And New England just upgraded at quarterback since that game and now actually has a passing attack. So nothing about that really makes sense to me. The New England passing attack had their best 2 passing games of the season, despite the offensive line issues the last 2 weeks. That just shows that May is making an impact there. And that's without Demario Douglas, contributing at all because of his illness last week. He should be back here. The Jets defense also managing several injuries in the secondary. I think the guys that missed Wednesday, for the most part, practice Thursday, but still, if they're not 100%, that makes it a little easier for May. We saw that they got lit up by Russell Wilson, so I think it's really on the table that May or basically anyone can light them up with how they're playing right now. And the offense isn't playing well either. Rodgers dealing with multiple injuries. Offensive line might have their third string guard instead of Vera Tucker. This is a lot to ask for a team in a divisional spot on the road to cover a number like this. The only reason I haven't locked it in as a best bet on SportsLine is that in some places it's trending towards 7.5. If I can get 7.5 in this game, I'm all in on the Patriots here. And I also do like the over a little bit because I think May improves the scoring there, and Patriots games are typically going to go over. This seems like a very low total.
Mike, thoughts on the game? I mean, none of us have bet on this game because, I mean, it's like RJ said, maybe you could go to the Patriots at a big number, but I mean, tough game.
I love hearing RJ say he's all in on the Patriots. Regardless, 7.5. I get it. I get the interest there. I think you could isolate some Hunter Henry props potentially. I think he's definitely the bright spot in that offense. For me, I will be the sucker here. I will grab my clown mask. I will put it on. I will follow the Jets. But in a teaser at this point, I will take the Jets down to -1 and look foolish when Aaron Rodgers figures out a way to lose this game. But I will be using the Jets in a teaser leg of some sort this week.
It does seem like Drake May's got a lot of first game he started, it's just like he's not afraid to pile up points and yardage and stats in garbage time, which is helpful too for a possible backdoor cover. But I'll hit the second leg of my teaser in a minute, but I certainly looked at the Jets and I just kind of got, I don't know, something spooked me about it. Falcons at the Bucs. We've got another divisional road favorite. This one because of injury, Chris Godwin out for the season, just brutal loss on Monday night. And Mike Evans, I think out a couple of weeks. So the Buccaneers here down bad when it comes to their receivers, and Atlanta hoping to take advantage of it as a short road favorite with the total of 46. RJ, you are simply fading one of the teams.
Yeah, the spread looks about right. If it got to 3, I'd have to think about the Bucs, but I just don't think they're going to score very many points. So I took their team total under 22.5. That's a pretty large number for a team that just lost its top 2 receivers. And this isn't an offense that has proven that it can overcome losing 1 receiver, much less 2. I mean, if you look at the situation in San Francisco, we know the offensive mind there. They can probably work around that, lean on Kittle a lot more, run the ball a lot more. I don't know that Tampa has that in their bag. So it really feels to me like this offense could fall apart. I mean, the good news is that Mayfield won't see much pressure. Atlanta has just 6 sacks on the year. So maybe if you're not getting any pressure on him at all, he can move the ball to Jalen McMillan and Sterling Shepard and guys like that. But Tampa Bay's defense gave up 550 yards in the first meeting against Atlanta. Probably can't win if the game has to become a shootout because Atlanta's scoring a ton of points. I don't think this offense can keep up. So I think the way to attack the game is a team total under. I could see them kicking a bunch of field goals, struggling in the red zone, even without the pressure element there. And you're checking in with 16, 19 points, even if they're able to move the ball.
Yeah, I think Sterling Shepard, Jalen McMillan, talk about DFS chalk this week, Mike. I mean, against this Atlanta defense, lower price tags. Any thoughts from you on the game or leans?
I think like RJ, I think the Bucs at 3, it would be one of those close your eyes and make the click and maybe don't even watch the game kind of situations
right.
Because it could go as poorly as the Saints did in primetime. Obviously, they're not down a quarterback, but it could spiral out of control and be bad for them. I would be on the Bucs at 3.5, but I'm not going to play anything here. K. Dotton is the guy that you should call out a lot. I think that K. Dotton's certainly going to see targets in action here. They started to run a few screenplays for him as well. If they get into a real negative game script, he's going to be force-fed targets. He actually saw 8 and 9 targets in games with everybody healthy, over 10 last game. With only half a game from Evans. So, in one of those scenarios where if you really are confident the Bucs are definitely not winning the game outright, I think you should be looking at K-Dot and receiving props.
That is a good look, especially because, and I'm just trying to bring it up really quickly. Here's his snap counts on the season from an offensive standpoint: 86%, 100%, 91, 95, 100, 81 in that blowout of the Saints, and 98% last week. So the guy just doesn't come off the field. Baker could certainly look his way. That's a very good look. Bijan K-Dot skinny stack, maybe DFS.
There you go. It could work.
All right. Packers and Jaguars. Packers -4 is a road favorite at Jacksonville. He said slowly because his brain couldn't remember if the Jaguars were still in London or not. But they have played 2 games and they're back home in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida. RJ, you like the road team here?
Yeah, I like the Packers -4. It's -3.5 at some spots. I don't get the excitement over Jacksonville. I mean, they coming off a 16-point win that I think should have been a 3-point win, right? It was entirely down to that punt return touchdown late in the first half. Without it, the game is probably tied late, and it ends up a field goal either way. Just based on how the rest of it went, if it went that way. And the stats were pretty close with those teams. And Green Bay, on the other hand, defense took a huge step forward versus Houston, allowed 197 yards, barely anything in the passing game. One, despite not generating any takeaways, the way that they've been succeeding this year has been with multiple takeaways every single game. And they did not do it. They didn't have any takeaways, and they still had a great performance. So I think it's a positive for them. They could get Devontae Wyatt back in this game as well. Jacksonville's pass D, unlikely to slow down this Green Bay passing attack. 30th in net yards per pass. They have allowed a 16-1 touchdown interception ratio to opposing quarterbacks. Jordan Love should light these guys up, and I don't think that the Jaguars have the offense to keep up with the way the Packers defense played last week. So I think this should be at least 5, probably even a little bit higher than that. If you can get the 3.5, grab that. I'm still making it the best bet at -4.
Mike, I believe you are on the same side. He said throwing it to you while he changes the pick in his expert picks page.
Yeah, so I like the Packers a lot here. I made them -6. I will admit I'm higher on the market than the Packers, or than the market on the Packers. I've been that way pretty much all year here. And for a look behind the scenes a bit, I have the Packers as the best team in the NFC in my ratings right now. They have passed the San Francisco 49ers in the current state. And that, the AFC is just so much stronger than the NFC at the top, right? But when I look at this Packers team, Jordan Love is phenomenal. I know that they had the 2 interceptions last week. That game wasn't close. They absolutely dominated Houston. Houston was absolutely embarrassed in that game. And the only difference in the game that even made it remotely close was a muffed punt at the 3-yard line that became a walk-in touchdown for the Texans, right? Other than that, it's even with the 2 interceptions, it was an absolute blowout of a game. I like this spot for them because there's no superstar on the team, right? It's Jordan Love, a bunch of really talented players, and you've got a great running back in the backfield in Josh Jacobs that's finally getting involved in the passing game. It's just, there's so many things that you have to defend when you're defending this Green Bay team. And that, to me, the way this Jaguars team defends, like, we're going to see big plays in this game from Green Bay. I no doubt about it, right? So if you want to look at Jordan Love's longest reception over, it may only be an 8-yard pass to Reed, but it might go for 65 yards in this game. So my only thing I would say here is I do see some sharp people liking Jacksonville. Look, Jacksonville's not as bad as their record, right? I think this is not the great matchup for them. So I would caution and say, if you like Jacksonville, just play their team total over, because they're not winning this game against Green Bay by holding the Packers under their team total like that, in my opinion. So if you like the Jacksonville side, just simply play Jacksonville's team total over and move on.
I like it. Yeah, I would lean towards the Packers as well. I think Jacksonville plus coming. You spend 2 weeks in London, then you come back home. I mean, there's just a lot. There's a lot going on when you don't take the bye. Choose not to take the bye, which Jacksonville chose not to. Colts at the Texans. Texans, as Mike mentioned, coming off a ugly loss to the Packers. I don't know what the Colts are at this point. I mean, Anthony, I think I saw Greg Rosenthal compare Anthony Richardson's numbers to Joe Namath's AFL numbers, where he's averaging 8 yards per target and completing 45% of his passes I mean, it's just ridiculous. But Texans, big favorite here as or reasonably big favorite for a divisional matchup, 5-point favorite with a total of 46. Man, I don't think any of us have best bets on this, and I find it hard to even RJ, play either side of the total here, just because like if I had to go anything, I think it would be just lay the points of the Texans and hope that their defense handles Richardson.
Well, the line's been coming down because people are not impressed with that Houston offense, I think. And it looks very broken now without Nico. Got away with it with 1 week against the Patriots and did not get away with it last week. So
fake sharp Bobby Slowick.
There's some consternation whether that they can score enough points to cover against a team that's somehow 4-3. I mean, the Colts do not look like a good team, and they're somehow 4-3. You talk about you don't know what Anthony Richardson is. What's weird to me is like his output is like Tim Tebow, right? But he's like the anti-Tim Tebow in terms of how the scouting community treated him, like the most athletic guy to ever come out and like breaking the mold and everything. And nobody liked Tim Tebow aside from obviously the name value and leadership ability.
Pete Prisco loved Tim Tebow. Pete Prisco was very high on Tim Tebow.
And Will Levis, and Josh Allen. So give him some credit for Josh Allen. But yeah, and the output is still the same. So I mean, I don't know what to get with this. I want nothing to do with betting either team right now. Richardson looks terrible. Houston's offense clearly missed Nico, like I said. Indy's receivers are beat up as well. If Taylor's back, Indy's going to lean on the run game heavily, and Indy's defense might get back to Forrest Buckner in this game. In that first game, it went way over. Richardson hit several low percentage deep passes to keep up. Houston obviously had Collins in that game. Houston's defense has been better since, should be healthier than they were last week. If I'm going to play this game, it's going to be the under. So if you're going to play it, I say look to the under at 46. I don't think there's going to be that many points scored with how these offenses are playing.
Mike?
Yeah. Look, I made the number 4.5. I'm not excited to play the Colts in any way. I made the total 44.5. So I would lean to the Colts side. I would lean to the under. The Texans, I thought I was crazy when I said it a couple weeks ago, but I think Nico Collins is extremely valuable to this team. I actually have him worth 2 points to the spread, which is absurd, but I honestly believe it. He makes such a big difference. He really helped his teammates a ton, more than I think a lot of people realize. And this is going to be a heavy dose of the running backs if they're both in there and healthy. I know that they both have had injury concerns, way more on the Jonathan Taylor side. Mixon's going to touch the ball a ton. And some of that, it's a product of what he did in the first matchup week 1. They're going to go right back to it, and he's going to touch the football 25 times. So I think it lends itself to an under. It's just one of those games where I think that red zone efficiency could not be as strong, and divisional matchup like this, controlled environment. I think we see some field goals in this one.
Just a random prediction for this game. And I'm not saying that I think it's going to be a shootout or the Texans roll or anything like that, but I have a feeling, just a sinking pit feeling in my stomach, that this is actually the Tank Dell game, where Tank Dell goes for like 2 long touchdowns on every single person's fantasy bench, and like 1% owned in DFS because people were so torched last week. All right.
It's like the reverse TY, right? Didn't TY always dominate the Houston?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's going to be your reverse TY.
Yeah. It's got TY owned. Yeah. It's like, T.Y. owned the – wait, I guess Derrick Henry and T.Y. Hilton were like the ultimate like Titans Colts killers. Or I guess it was Derrick Henry. No, Derrick Henry's a Texans killer. That's right. Anyway, moving along to the 4 o'clock games. Oh, boy. Saints and Chargers. Spencer Rattler, baby. Chargers are -7 here, despite just a total of 40.5. R.J., you're on this very show, your preseason call out of Chargers unders. Very precision. I mean, they are exactly what Jim Harbaugh wants them to be, which is a grinded out, run the football type of team. I've opened up a little bit more with Justin Herbert lately. I'm going to put the Chargers in that teaser with the Eagles here, take them down to -1. I don't think this Saints team can even contemplate slowing down the run game for the Chargers. And on the other side of the ball, we saw what happened with a decent defense against Spencer Rattler without any of his weapons. I mean, the Saints are just devastated with injury here. So I like the Chargers to find a way to win this one, and hope the Eagles keep it close for my teaser. Mike, any leans on this game?
No, fortunately for me, it's dead on market, 7.2 and 39.5. So I guess if you wanted to lean under the 40.5, it's not something that I necessarily hate, but another game, I know it's kind of not fun on the analysis front, but I just really want no part of this. I know the Chargers are going to run the football. I do question whether the Saints have lost the locker room and everyone quits or not. If things go poorly the first 2 drives here, I think we will have the answer to that question. I'm staying away though.
Okay, RJ.
Yeah, you talked about the Chargers unders. This is a defense grinded out team. Those type of teams, it's tough to lay 7.5. Oh, more you get more than a touchdown with those teams. So if I'm playing this, it's New Orleans plus 7.5. The big rest disparity favors them. They play Thursday. Chargers play late Monday, not even the regular Monday slot, a 9 o'clock slot on Monday. And there's signs that New Orleans could be much healthier this week after the first practice report. I believe 2 people mispracticed and then a ton of limited guys. So if you're getting Olave back, you're getting Taysom Hill back, so you're not putting it all on Spencer Rattler because you're going to devise some Taysom Hill plays. And you have a better shot on the offense. You're getting some offensive linemen back probably on the interior. That's been a problem. So that they could keep up there. Losing a Debo hurts for them in the secondary. If the Chargers get back Bosa, maybe, he counters some of those additions back, because if Bosa's rushing the passer against those tackles, it's going to be pretty tough for them. But the Chargers may or may not be healthy at receiver. It's a big number to cover if you're just leaning on the run game most of the time with the state of their offense. So if you want to wait and see the final injury report and make sure those guys come back, knowing that you might have to play +7, I'm okay with that too. I think it's okay to play the +7.5 and just expect that the Chargers are going to have difficulty running away from most teams that aren't really, really bad. Like I think they played the Panthers in week 2, right, and blew them out by 20 something. So.
All right. Bills at the Seahawks. Awesome game in that Sunday window. Buffalo, a 3-point favorite on the road in Seattle. Seattle's been hit or miss this season at times. A total of 47 here. Mike, any side or total that you like in this game?
I lean to Buffalo's side. I want to make sure DK Metcalf is out. I assume he's going to be after missing practice yesterday, today, and the comment that they will evaluate tomorrow. So if he's out, I think that actually helps Buffalo a lot. I know he's not just the best receiver in the league, but he does eliminate, a big play threat that I think Seattle does have, just because he's so difficult to tackle and bring down, which I do think is a concern for this Bills secondary. So if he's out, I do actually make it meaningful in this particular matchup. And if he is out, I made the number 4. So if you're getting 3, I think it's fine. I also am probably going to have a little bit of a donkey parlay where I pair this with the Green Bay Packers money line plus 142. You can find if you pair the Bills and Packers, laying road chalk in the NFL, that in a parlay, you always got to do it whenever you get the opportunity. So that's where I'm at on this one, though. I think the number should be 4.
I love the idea. Anytime you can lay it with road chalk and make sure you parlay it, you got to do it. What do you think about your Bills being road favorites here, RJ?
Yeah, I'm always going to be the eternal Bills pessimist, except for that 1 week. Like I think it was week 3 or 4 when playing the Ravens. I was like, okay, I'm bought in. This team looks good, and then they were annihilated. So they ended up running away with it versus Tennessee. That first half was awful for them. 5 of their 6 drives didn't get 10 yards. And I know Tennessee has a good defense, but it's just, if you're a Super Bowl contender, you just can't disappear for a full half like that. And they finally got it together in the second half, obviously. Healthy Seattle defense coming off their best game of the year. That wasn't against a backup quarterback. I think they could hold Buffalo's scoring in check based on how the Bills offense is playing a bit. 23 points like they were scoring in their recent road trip against teams like the Jets and in those type of matchups. And then the question is now, can Seattle keep up without DK? They have good receiver depth, obviously 3 good receivers. They have Noah Fant, who's been, a contributor there. So I think they could do it. Geno's playing great. So if this line does go up, I like the Seahawks. I think you have to wait for Metcalf status though, because you're going to get a better number, obviously, when he's ruled out. So I jumped the gun a bit. It seemed like his injury was played up as minor early in the week. And so Monday morning I grabbed Seattle at +3. Would like to have that back now, because I think I'll be able to get 3.5 or 4 later in the week.
Yeah, I think that's probably right once DK is officially ruled out. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, how many points how many hands is it going to take for us to count the number of points that the Panthers will score against the Broncos? We'll tell you next.
CBS Sports HQ, giving you college football coverage unlike anyone else.
We're talking Big Ten.
Pre- and post-game coverage.
Are you encouraged with the way that this team responded?
Along with breaking news.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
Highlights and expert analysis.
That streak could be in jeopardy here.
Sure. What was your main takeaway from this game? How impressive was his domination?
That really changed the football game.
Let's go ahead and have some more fun.
Another wild ending.
The chaos continues.
Turn to CBS Sports HQ.
So the Panthers, They are not good. I don't want to break any news here on the show, but Carolina is not a good football team. They are so bad that they are catching 10 points on the road against Bo Nix. And RJ, I know that we have the same pick here. I know it will appear to many and probably to you that I'm just copying off your paper, but I had this in my column that I submitted before I dove into our rundown. So I can earnestly say that I think this is just a good look. And frankly, it's a good look every week. It's the Panthers team total under. It's 16.5 and it's heavily juiced to the under. Who cares? This Broncos defense is good. Sean Payton is getting up for an NFC South, the former foe. I don't think he takes him lightly. He's played well, creamed Tampa earlier this year. And Javonte Williams might run for 200 yards in this game. There is you can do whatever you want against this Panthers defense, and they can't do anything offensively. And oh, by the way, Bryce Young is back in the starting lineup. This is, it's not, nothing's a free square, and they can score 17. But man, I would take an alt under 10.5 on the Panthers scoring here.
Yeah, I know you had it in your call. I saw your column, so I wasn't going to accuse you of anything. Do you know what the look ahead line in this game was?
Like 4.
And
wow, really?
It gets up to 7 on the reopen, and then it gets bet up to 10. Like, it's just, there's no number too high for people to bet against the Panthers. And for me, with that Denver offense, 10 is too high. Like, I'm not going to sit here and take the Panthers, but there's no way I could get it on the Broncos. So I got in on that team total under 16.5 like you. I put that in before I read your column. I thought your column got flagged to me to try to see if we can add some stuff into it, some SportsLine call-outs to it like 5 minutes before this podcast. So I put my pick in first, but I immediately went to that. I said,
I'm nothing if not a procrastinator.
Yeah, if I can get under 16.5, I'm going to do it. Bryce Young at quarterback. He managed 13 points combined in his 2 starts earlier this season. Now he's on the road against one of the best defenses in the league that has had extra rest and probably gets Patrick Surtain back for this game. So the Carolina team totals the under is the play here.
Yeah, Mike, any thoughts on this game side total or your preference of North Carolina barbecue to Texas barbecue?
10.5 with Bo Nix. I get it. It's a home game. It is crazy. Yeah, I like your guys' look. I might raise you and take the Carolina first half team total under 7.5. Are they scoring a touchdown in the first half? Probably not. So maybe they orchestrate 3 field goal drives to beat me. I haven't locked in anything in this game yet, but I will say on the Denver side, like, it wouldn't shock me if they control this game and get backdoor covered and really pull up the gear pretty early, because Denver, all of a sudden, with the games that they've won, they are a decent shot at a playoff. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but they're live in the playoff. And they've got big games coming up. They play the Ravens and the Chiefs on the road back-to-back the next 2 weeks after this. It would not shock me at all to see them kind of pull up the gear very, very early in this game and frankly be comfortable winning a game by 6 points.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, they are 4-3. They should get to. I think that they will get to 5-3. I don't think there's a real chance of Carolina winning this game. I mean, it's the NFL, could always happen, but I do think that they're going to get to. I think Sean Payton is one of the best coaches in the league still, and he's had some early season struggles at times, but you see he's ripping off these wins, and you're beating teams you're supposed to beat. And you're right, Mike. They're at Baltimore, at Kansas City after this in back-to-back weeks. Like, if you want to be a playoff contender, you have to take care of business here, and with that extra rest, I think they do it. So.
My one worry with them too is that they're in bye week mode, because Carolina is a bye week and they're coming off of extra rest already. You know what their schedule is coming up? They are at Baltimore next, and then at Kansas City. I mean, you got to win one of those games if you want to pretend you're a playoff team. And if the focus is too much there and not on Carolina, maybe the execution isn't great and they lose a lower scoring game. Yeah,
and certainly I think there's a case to be made, like, you talk about the first half under, where like Carolina could get a absolute garbage time, be down 33-10 like the Saints, or down 33-3 and just, whatever it is, like sneaking through the back door, something like that. Anyway, Chiefs at the Raiders. Man, a lot of divisional road favorites this week. Chiefs are minus 9.5 at the Raiders with a total of 41.5. Man, I mean, Mike, I know Kansas City's the better team, and I know they just added DeAndre Hopkins, and he's possibly going to play this week, but laying 9.5 for a Chiefs team that really hasn't been that great this season is kind of crazy.
It is crazy. It's a road game in controlled environment. When I look at this, it's the total stands out also. Chiefs games 40.5, 41. They're going to run the football. They're just going to continue to run the football and try and get in and get out with a win. I think the stat that's crazy, Kareem Hunt just essentially signed off the street. He's touched the football 52 times the last 2 games combined. 52 touches.
That happened the second I dropped him from my Dynasty League team. The second I dropped him for the Dynasty League team, he signed it. He's like Kareem Hunt from 2017. It's unbelievable.
It is truly unbelievable. And the thing that's been fascinating is actually how much they've relied on him in the red zone as well, taking the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands at the goal line a little bit. I think that we see just more of the same there. So for me, it's more of a prop game. I love Brock Bowers here. I think Brock Bowers is extremely close to being what Travis Kelce used to be. I think that he is going to have big games. Kansas City's struggled a little bit to defend that. But when you look at this Chiefs defense, the defense is elite. It's an absolutely elite defense that they've been living on. They're not going to find success anywhere else. It's going to be target after target for Brock Bowers. I think it's, again, another double-digit target day. So as those props get released, I will be looking to go overs immediately on Brock Bowers here.
Yeah, RJ, Brock Bowers, a target monster, could be tight end 1 the rest of the way, honestly, in fantasy. I do not have enough Brock Bowers in my portfolio across the board, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have him in a dynasty, or I think I have him in a dynasty league. Somebody tried to trade for him because I had thrown an offer out there before the season and they rejected it. And now they're trying to do it again. So I'm like, no, at this point he's proven. You're not going to get it. We're not going to do that. So this number just seems too high for me with the way the Chiefs offense is playing. You're saying the Chiefs don't look as good at their normal level. I mean, the defense does. The defense looks great. We'll see if injury slows them up a little bit. I believe they lost a corner in that last game. But that's swing a big trade for a receiver who hadn't done much this year. Joins the team midweek, a little later than the ones last week. I don't think he's going to have a big role early on. They'll try to get him integrated. But, the theme of Chiefs receiver draft picks is that it's a offense that takes time to pick up. And I know Hopkins is a veteran. He should, if they didn't think he was going to have a big impact, they wouldn't have traded for him. But maybe that impact comes later in the year. When they're looking to make a playoff run, and he just kind of gets ramped up over the next few weeks. So I'm not buying into him having a huge level of success in this game. I think the game plan, like Mike is saying, centered around the run game, and what should be an easy win, limiting possessions. Minshew does give you some potential for scoring on the Raiders side. I mean, I think he's better than O'Connell. If he can keep the turnovers in check, it could be a lower scoring game, but it just takes one dumb Minshew pass and the Chiefs are covering this game. So I wanted to take the Raiders at 10, but I just kept thinking about that Minshew pick 6 that we know is coming, and I just couldn't do it, and I stayed away.
Yeah, it's coming. It's always there looming over every single Raiders game. Awesome game if we get Jaden Daniels back, and like it's tricky because you want him to get healthy, you want him to be right, but it would be pretty sweet to see Jaden Daniels squaring off against Caleb Williams. The Bears -3 at the Commanders. I think suffice to say that line reflects the idea that this could be Marcus Mariota in there, RJ, with a total of 43 as well.
Yeah, starting to see some threes. It was 1.5, and it was mostly 2.5. I think as he trends, further away from playing, you're going to get it maybe even over 3. So if you want to take the Bears, I get it now if you haven't already, because I don't think he plays. They typify the injury as week to week, and typically that means you're missing at least 1 week, unless you're Michael Pittman, who somehow, drank from the fountain of life and played that week after he was supposed to have a serious injury. So I think that he's not going to play. I put the line at 4.5 if he doesn't play. Chicago's defense has played well all year, and the caliber of offenses they face would be in line with a Mariota-led Washington attack. I don't think Mariota is very good, even though they ran up the score against Carolina, but that doesn't say much to me or really to anyone. I think play them. Washington's defense, good games, have typically come against bad offenses, and Chicago's offense has progressed to the point where I don't think they're a bad offense anymore. Like I thought they were struggling a bit early in the year, and they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. So I think Chicago's offense is going to score. I think the defense is going to show up, and they're going to win this game by at least a field goal.
Mike, any lean on a side or total here?
Yeah, it's definitely a Bears lean. Like RJ, I think the line should be 4.5 if Jaden Daniels is truly ruled out. We saw him participating in practice today. I can't fathom them actually letting him play in this game, just considering his style of play. Like if this was a true stand in the pocket kind of player, I think it's okay if you trust your offensive line and, can really manage taking some of those hits. But the way he plays to be effective is still running the football. And I just think it would be foolish to bring him back in this spot against a very good Bears defense. Because one more hit there when it's in this condition and you're going to lose them for 4 or 5 weeks. Right. So like I would like to, if I were Washington, I would sit him this week and next week. I would give him this week off and the game at the Giants off, because the 3 games after that are going to determine whether they make the playoffs or not. And those games are the Steelers defense on the road at Philly and the Dallas Cowboys. That's the big stretch for this team here. If you get him even more banged up ahead of do you want to have your star quarterback, franchise quarterback, really banged up playing that Steelers defense right now? Just no, absolutely not. So I don't think he's playing here. And again, don't be shocked if he doesn't play next week at the Giants either.
It looks like it's like the Anthony Richardson, right? It looked like he was coming back, and the way his practice reports are trending, it looked like he was going to be back, and they held him out another week just to be safe. And it feels like this could be the same thing here, like you're talking about. Even if he's practicing this week, I don't think he plays. Even if he practices next week, like you're saying, he may not necessarily play. So
I mean, no, you're right. And look, this team still has, this team is 5-2. They are right there. They have to feel they can win the division. They have to feel they can make the playoffs. But you still have 4 games against the Cowboys and Eagles remaining, and you need Jaden Daniels to be healthy if you want to win those games. And ultimately, I think they're going to try to win every game. But to your point, Mike, like those are the games they need to win to try and get the division. So wouldn't be surprised at all if they're cautious here with him. All right. Speaking of the Cowboys, they are heading to San Francisco to play the 49ers. 49ers have been hungover all season long. It feels like they are 3-4. Dallas, of course, 3-3. The seat is hot for Mike McCarthy in Dallas. This is a spot, I think, last year where on a Sunday night, the 49ers put a nuclear bomb on the Cowboys and it was a Stephen A. Smith fest, just humiliating for the Cowboys. Mike, you actually think it may go the other direction this year, though.
Yeah, it's Cowboys +4, 4.5 for me. Definitely at 4.5. I think the number should be 3 here. Again, I have Green Bay as the best team in the NFC. I've downgraded San Francisco a bit just because of all the injuries and the current state. And it's a product of the injuries and not having a guy like Christian McCaffrey back there. But Brock Purdy's taken a step backwards. And it's not saying he's a bad quarterback. He was playing at an elite level, and he's kind of playing a little closer to the baseline where I think a lot of us would expect him to be. The real news here is you have to wonder about, the legal issues around the Cowboys. We're talking about jury duty with Brandon Aubrey.
This is ridiculous.
Right?
It's like,
Aubrey matters, though. He absolutely matters. He's a legit weapon, especially in a matchup like this where the San Francisco 49ers are just limited offensively. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to have a day here, and I ultimately think the game's going to be a competitive one, and I'm just not laying more than 3 points with San Francisco right now. But now that you're through the key numbers, 4.5, I think that this is a game that San Francisco could still easily win, but Dallas covers this 4.5 here.
And just for those who don't know what Mike's referring to is that like Brandon Aubrey has jury duty and might not be able to get out of it. And it's like it's like a felony situation that not for him, but for like whoever's being tried. And he also like might be sequestered. It's just preposterous. Like make a call. Like I need my kicker because the game's in San Francisco, so he can't get back to Dallas. Like there's all these factors. It's like, just be like, my work prohibits me from making it to jury duty. Please excuse me. I had to go kick for the Cowboys. What judge in Texas is not like just immediately being like, get on out of here, buddy. Like, don't worry about it. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
I don't know why that got me all riled up.
The vibes in Dallas. Maybe Brandon Aubrey would rather be in jury duty than play for the Dallas Cowboys. That's number one. Number two, if I have to carry multiple kickers in fantasy for more than 1 week, I'm going to be very mad. So get out on that field. I need that bench spot. And then, this Cowboys team, I mean, I think I'm on the other side of Mike. I mean, it's going to come down to the injury report. There's so many injuries on both sides. Want to see who's catching passes for San Francisco. Want to see if these key defensive players are back for Dallas. You figure they would be back through a bye, but that's not necessarily, we don't know that that's necessarily going to be the case. So I need to see who is playing in this game. I think if you get one of Debo or Juwan Jennings, I think that they can make that work at receiver, especially if Kittle's able to get back in. And I mean, they're going to run the ball down Dallas's throat anyway. So you just kind of need a passing game that's functional, because then you just run it, all over the Cowboys, who have not stopped the run very well this year. They've had 2 weeks to stew on that embarrassing loss to Detroit. Typically would like that to focus the team, but the coaching mismatch here is huge as well. So I don't know if this trends down to 3.5, I'm going to think about going with San Francisco and just hoping the injuries work themselves out. But I kind of want to see where the injuries shake out before I make a commitment for this game.
And of course, Brandon Aubrey. It's ridiculous. All right, finally, let's go to Monday Night Football. Giants at the Steelers. Steelers -6, a total of 36.5. I mean, Mike, the Giants couldn't have looked any more helpless or hapless. Hapless, both, I think, actually apply here against the Eagles. And now they get one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, this is like, have fun, Danny Dimes. And if Andrew Thomas is out, like, just have fun with TJ Watt. He is going to be living in your kitchen. And like, even with Malik Neighbors out, like, they pulled Malik Neighbors early in that game last week too. It's just, they just don't feel like they have it on offense right now after like a decent little stretch there.
Giants, let's see, team total under 15.5. Are they scoring 2 touchdowns in this game? Probably not.
Probably not.
I don't think they are.
No.
So, while the Steelers, should they be 6-point favorites at home? Yeah, I think that they should. Do I feel comfortable laying 6 with Pittsburgh? I know they look better on offense with Russell Wilson, but still not a comfortable spot for me. So if I had to play anything, it would be the Giants team total under 15.5.
Yeah, I'm like on the exact same spot on my notes here. I have lean Giants team total under 15.5 because I agree. How are they scoring points when you can't block TJ Watt with how that offensive line is without Andrew Thomas? That it's a small total. I still think they're going to go under it. It is a massive number for Pittsburgh. The look ahead was 3.5. Probably justified with the Giants' offensive line issues. I liked it at 5.5 for Pittsburgh. Once you get to 6, still a lean to Pittsburgh, probably 6.5 is starting to get a little too high for me, even though I have the line at 7, because you just don't know with this Pittsburgh offense what you're going to get week in and week out. So yeah, if you're going to play this game, play the Giants team total under, like Mike is saying.
All right. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun little. I mean, Pittsburgh Steelers defense in DFS showdown is gonna be like 20% captain. I mean, it's gonna be ridiculous. Rostered, excuse me. All right, RJ, you've got one look ahead for us for week 9, don't you?
Yeah, I like the Bears -1 at Arizona. This was the line for a beat-up Chargers team last week on Monday at Arizona, and that game could have went either way, even though Chargers did not play well, couldn't get a touchdown. Chicago's healthier. Offense was trending up for the bye. Defense has been excellent all year, like the Chargers. I think they could roll against a mediocre team like Arizona. I make the line 2.5 now, and if Sunday's results go the way I think, the line's probably going to get to 3 for me in my rating. So jump on it now at 1.
All right, good stuff. That'll do it for us on the Week 8 Early Edge NFL Pick Show. Would be remiss if I didn't point out, you should go to sportsline.com/join. And if you do, when you do, use promo code WINNERS for 60% off an annual subscription. It's a great deal. And of course, check out the Early Edge every day, 10 o'clock. See you hold it down. You guys are on there, giving out winners all over the place. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For RJ, for Mike, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys next week.